It's the first refined batch of 2025, and man, is this an exciting one. We got remixes, we got crazy refines, and a lot of interesting units. Let's get started with Selena. So we have Tome of Storms. This grants speed +3, and then if she initiates combat or meets the HP condition, she's going to get a bonus to her attack and speed equal to 6 plus 15% of her speed at start of combat. She's going to get full no follow-up, and then also if she wins a speed check, she'll get like a sweep effect. Then her Astral Refine, she'll get Canto 1, and then once again the HP condition of 25%. She's going to inflict a visible debuff of speed and resistance -7 and exposure on the closest foe, and that will spread to other foes within 2 spaces. And then lastly, once again the HP condition 25%, she'll get an additional attack and speed +6 during combat, and she'll get 20% true damage, but not with AoEs. Okay, so overall this is a pretty simple refine. I think it is pretty good, it's pretty effective, but it's nothing crazy, right? You're essentially getting lots of stats. You're getting NFU, which lets her like double pretty consistently. You get the sweep effect, which is pretty good in our current meta. All the premium saves except for Geofjorm do not have an NCD effect, so this is going to be pretty good against things like Nidhogger or like Hector or FOMO. The thing is, does she have enough firepower to kill, right? That's the big question. She also has some nice support with the speed and res -7 and exposure, allowing her to get the extra true damage in. And then of course she has the true damage she needs to actually be able to kill things. So overall, I do think this refinement makes Selena a lot better. It makes her much more usable and puts her much more in line with current nukes. But I don't think it puts her up to the level of like the high tier nukes, right? Like let's say Dual Lucina or like Brave Bernadetta, right? She doesn't have that brave attack or like ridiculous true damage. She just has good true damage. Of course, the other thing is that she doesn't have like DR Halving, so she will be reliant on something like Resonance, so she could be a bit expensive to build. But overall, pretty solid refine. Okay, next let's move on to one of the wackiest units ever added to Fire Emblem Heroes, Halloween Xane. You have Joker's Wild. This grants HP +5, then you get Close Counter, and then if you're within 3 spaces of an ally, you'll get all stats +5 during combat, and you'll also get a bonus to your stats equal to the highest stat amongst allies within 3 spaces, minus your stat values. So essentially what that does is the same thing that I did before. You look around at your allies, who has the highest stats within 3 spaces, and then you get those stats. You also get 20% true damage based off your speed. And at the start of player and enemy phase, you'll get attack speed, defense, res +6 as a visible bonus, Hexblade, and No Panic to all allies within 3 spaces of Xane for 1 turn. And then if you're within 3 spaces of an ally, you'll get another round of +5 stats. You get 20% damage reduction against the foe's first attack based off the greater of defense or resistance Xane has. And then lastly, if you do a resistance check and you win that, you're going to get Scowl 1. This essentially once again makes Xane the jack of all trades, but the master of none. So you get some true damage, so you can nuke some stuff. You get some flat DR, so you can tank a little bit. You get Scowl, so you can turn off some specials. And then you even get some nice support for your allies, which makes Xane more powerful as well. I don't think this makes Xane like crazy cracked or anything like that. But it does allow him to fulfill the role he wants to do, right? Where he can kind of do a little bit of everything. And Close Counter is really nice as well because it does open up his A slot for more better A slots. We don't really have like an amazing Close Counter right now. And the prime skills have kind of fallen off too, just because there's so many ways to remove bonuses now. Though with Nidhogger, it has gone down a little bit. Overall, I do think this is a solid refine. And if you are like a big Xane fan, you could definitely make him work. He has a lot of options for builds. He can run like the Flare Lagoose Friend build because he doesn't have Slang, which is pretty cool as well. So if you do want to build Xane, definitely can have some fun with them, but I definitely don't think this is like a meta refine by any means. Okay, let's move on to Lex. So we have Goddess Axe. This has a dual phase Brave attack. You get a visible HP +5, attack +6, defense +6, and then you get a visible speed and resistance -5. You get a guaranteed follow-up attack, so if they don't have a way to deny your follow-up attack or have no follow-up, you'll be able to quad with Lex, which is pretty cool. And then if you initiate combat or if you're within 2 spaces of an ally, you get defense and attack +6 during combat. You get true damage equal to 50% of your defense, but not with AoEs. You get special acceleration, and you restore 7 HP after combat. Now, Dual Phase Brave is one of the best effects in the entire game. It has been since launch, and it is still now. And the guaranteed follow-up attack is pretty cool. It's a lot better than it used to be, where no follow-up was so rampant, it really didn't do anything. Now it's pretty solid. You can pretty consistently get those quads off. And Lex is pretty bulky overall as well, and the true damage will allow him to secure more kills. The problem is that Lex doesn't have a lot of things going for him. He doesn't have like a Canto or forward movement, which means he pretty much needs the Sigurd Ring to function on like a competitive level at all. Special acceleration is decent, but it's definitely not like the high meta level effects we have now. A lot of people are using special jump now, which allows you to get past things like guards or even tempo, right? So with special acceleration, it's definitely good. It can definitely help you out. But the one thing is that he doesn't have slaying, and he doesn't have any type of damage reduction halving or piercing. So what that means essentially is that like he's reliant on no quarter, but he doesn't have a way to consistently hit that no quarter, right? So he's gonna probably need to have a unit who gives him DR having as like a visible bonus or something like that to make it really consistent, which isn't the best place to be. And then lastly, you get some healing, which honestly isn't really a big deal. They kind of just slap it on the units once in a while, and it helps a little bit, but it's nothing crazy. Overall, I think this refine is a bit underwhelming. I was really hoping for a lot more, like maybe like, you know, extra movement, making him a 4 movement cab, so he could fit into like cab lines, maybe giving him a way to just ignore damage reduction, giving him a way to give like big damage or something like that. And they just really didn't give him all that much. They're just some like basic general effects. Dual Phase Brave will allow him to work for sure, but you're gonna have to invest really heavily into him, and you're gonna have to have like a consistent team around him to offer him those key effects he really needs to work. Okay, let's talk about a free-to-play unit, Sonia. So Sonia has Fillable Veteran Mourn, and at start of combat, for HP equals 25%, she'll inflict attack and res -6 on the foe during combat. She gets 20% true damage based off her resistance, but not with AoEs, and then she gets 7 flat damage reduction that is brave, and she inflicts guard on the foe. So decent weapon, giving her a little bit of damage and a little bit of bulk so that she doesn't die immediately. Then at start of turn, for HP equals 25%, she's going to give out a visible attack and res +6 as a bonus, Essence Drain, and bonus doubler to herself and her support partner, or the ally with the highest attack within 2 spaces. So this is really cool, obviously. This is our free-to-play Nurgle, essentially. It kind of explains why they nerfed Nurgle so hard with double Nidhogger, not just one, and the dosage effect, of course. But this is a cool way. So if you don't have Nurgle, you can get Essence Drain now. The thing, of course, is it is a bit of a weaker version of Essence Drain in the fact that it only really affects Sonia and then her one support partner, right? You can kind of make it so that you can match attack and stuff and go through those hoops, but overall Nurgle's just gonna be better as you can just give it to all allies within 2 spaces, meaning that you can just, you know, have a much more consistent Essence Drain. But the cool thing is you do get bonus doubler as well, which is a pretty good support as well. So overall, some nice support for Sonia there. She's also going to inflict another attack and res -6 on the foe. She's going to get a guaranteed follow-up attack, and she'll restore 7 HP after combat again. This kind of is like a trend going on in this refined batch so far for some reason. Anyways, I do think this unit got a pretty solid refine. She gets some nice cool effects that she needs, like those basic effects like true damage, flat DR, guaranteed follow-up attack, right? All those like things. But then she gets some nice support and some unique support, right? We only really have Nurgle who can give out Essence Drain, so having another option for that and it being free to play is really, really nice. Even though Essence Drain is like definitely nerfed compared to what it was before Nidhogger, it's still a really great effect, and if you could somehow avoid Nidhogger, this effect will be really, really great again. So maybe Nidhogger will get nerfed, and then Sonia can ramp up in use again, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay, let's talk about our last refine before the remixes. We have Ronan, and holy crap, is this like 5 paragraphs of text and a billion effects. Oh my god. This is effective versus flying. You get res +3. You disable adaptive damage, and then if the foe initiates combat or if the foe's HP score equals 75%, you get attack, defense, res +6, and speed +5. I still don't understand why they don't just make it 6 across the board. It's so stupid, but typical IS. You're going to neutralize your penalties to attack and speed and resistance during combat. You're going to neutralize the foe's bonuses to attack and speed during combat. You get 20% true damage based off your resistance, but not with AoEs. And then also when your special triggers, you're going to calculate damage using 150% of your resistance stat instead of your attack stat. So this is essentially like Tamara Sandstorm, but it's based off resistance instead of defense. And this is a really powerful effect. This is one of the effects that allows Tamara to just really blow things up. That's a cool effect to see on a refine. Then when it comes to refine itself, you're going to get slaying. And then all allies within 3 spaces of Ronan will get attack, speed, res +5. You're going to neutralize the effects that inflict guard, and you'll get 7 flat DR versus the first attack, and that is brave. Then lastly, if you're within 3 spaces of an ally, you'll get all stats +5, you'll get anti-guard for yourself, you get special jump of 1 before your first attack, and you'll reduce the damage from the foe's attacks by 10 during combat, but not with AoEs, and then once again you'll get another layer of flat DR of 10 whenever the foe triggers their special. So nice little like Excel DR there. So overall, we have just an absolute insane amount of effects on Ronan. And oh my god, he is just doing a little bit of everything. So when it comes to the support, he's kind of like Seth in a way. He doesn't have the crazy range Seth does, but he does give out stats and he does give that flat DR. Anti-guard is also some nice support as well. I don't think he's as good as Seth when it comes to the support aspect. Part of that reason why is that Seth is a melee flyer, which means he does offer a lot of other support like Crux, Guidance, Soaring Guidance, Snap, you know, there's just a million things, right? Which Ronan doesn't offer, but it is some really powerful support. When it comes to his other effects, he really wants to play that ranged tank support, like that ranged tank role, right? He wants to have people attack into him. He gets a ton of flat DR, right? He's going to be able to hit back pretty hard as well, which is really nice. The thing is that he has 29 defense, which is just ridiculously low, right? That's absolutely terrible. His resistance is very nice. And the thing with that is, like, currently a lot of the main nukes in the game are defense based, right? We have like Lucina, Bernadetta, Shez. Only really Tharja is targeting resistance, right? So I think that's one downside for Ronan. The other thing is, like, the main place he could fit into that role really well would be like a Soren ball, right? Soren could turn him into a far save and then he would do great there. So the problem with that is that Soren looks at defense stats. And so he has low defense, so he'll never really be able to target Ronan on your team, just because it's such a low defense stat, even at plus 10. So the question then becomes, where does Ronan really shine? And I think the answer is against Lathreder. That's right, he's like anti-Lathreder tech. And the reason why is because his defense is so low, he will get hit by the assigned decoy and become your far save. Now the question becomes, how good of a far save is he really? And that's a question we'll have to figure out through testing or doing some like sims to see if he can actually survive units like, let's say, Lucina or Lynn or Bernadetta, right? If he can do that, he can definitely kill them back. I think he does a ton of damage there, but the survival is the big question. So overall, I do think this is a pretty solid refine, and if you are a big Ronan fan, I can definitely see him working in some different game modes, especially in something like Aetherite's offense or like Summer Drills against Lathreder as like very niche super tech against him. I think it could work, but you have to do the testing first to see if it really like pans out overall. Okay, let's move on to our first refine and remix. We have Legendary Micaiah, one of the long-awaited refines for so long. We have New Dawn. This is effective versus armored and cavalry foes, and you get attack +3. And then if she initiates combat, or if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, she'll get attack and res +6 and speed and defense +5 during combat. Once again, just make it 6 across the board, IS. Please, it's literally one stat. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You're also going to get a bonus to all stats equal to X, where X is your 10% of your visible resistance stat at start of combat. You're going to get a guaranteed follow-up attack, and then once again, if you initiate combat, you're going to get a Desperation effect. So very nice that they upgraded this from Desperation 2, because honestly, Desperation 2 was just completely ineffective even when it came out, so just being able to have it all the time is really, really nice. Then we look at the Astral Refine, and you have Slaying, and then at the start of turn, if your HP is going to go 25%, you'll get another round of +5 to all stats. You get to neutralize your own penalties to attack and resistance. You deal damage equal to 20% of your resistance during combat, non-AoE, and you get damage reduction halving. So overall, this refine itself is pretty solid, but let's check out the remix as well to see the overall package. So we have Prescience 2. At start of turn, if any foe has the highest attack, speed, defense, or resistance on the enemy team, you're going to inflict Sabotage and Panic on those foes, and inflict -7 on the corresponding stat of each of those foes, and foes within 2 spaces. So this is the same thing that we've had like on a Micaiah or Yune, right? But this time it's Sabotage and Panic, which are some nice debuffs. Sabotage like is a really great way to get some extra stats on the foe, and then Panic is a great way to turn around those visible bonuses, as long as they're not using something like, let's say, Grand Strategy, which isn't all that common nowadays. We're also then going to inflict attack speed and resistance -5 on the foe during combat. You're going to inflict an additional penalty on the foe's speed and resistance equal to the highest total penalties among target and foes within 2 spaces of target, and you're also going to reduce damage by 30%, non-AoE, and you're going to get anti-guard. Okay, so let's look at this overall package at Micaiah and see just how good she really is. Let's start off with their remix skill, because I think this is a lot of like the interesting effects here. So essentially you're going to get a version of a 2 Micaiah support, not quite as strong overall, but it is a nice effect. It's proven to be very strong throughout the year. Sabotage and Panic are very good overall too. The thing really here is that she has the same effect as a 2 Micaiah, where you're looking at the highest total penalties among target and foes within 2 spaces. The difference is that it's not attack and resistance, it's speed and resistance. And so for a 2 Micaiah, that made her very tanky, right? Allowed her to take a lot of hits she shouldn't be able to take. But with speed and resistance, it won't be the same. Micaiah essentially won't be very tanky, but she'll be way faster than you actually imagine, right? Just from that remix skill alone, she can get easily 33 speed, which is a lot of speed. That's an insane amount of speed to get just from a B slot. And then she's also going to get effectively 33 attack, because you're inflicting a giant penalty on the resistance stat. And so overall, I think the skill is actually deceptively stronger than it looks. It's going to allow Micaiah to be really fast, hit really hard. The 30% DR is not that big of a deal, but the anti-guard will allow her to proc specials much more consistently. So overall, I think this is a pretty solid remix skill. And then when we actually go to the refine itself, this is a very basic refine in my opinion. There's nothing here that's like screams crazy broken, but it gives her all the key effects she needs, right? It gives her a ton of stats, right? You're getting all the stats from prescience first, but then you're also getting attack and res plus 11, speed and defense plus 10, and then an additional 10% of stats based off your visible resistance. That's gonna make her overall have just a ton of stats. You have effective damage, and effective damage is really good right now currently against saves. Being able to get that extra amount of damage on top of your other true damage, right, because she's 20% from her resistance, it's going to allow her to hit really hard. And then, of course, she does have Desperation as well, which is a great way to take out saves currently. Actually, it's such a great way that they're currently running Hardy Bearing, unfortunately. Hardy Bearing was kind of the thing that was showing up because of, like, Brave Bernadetta originally, because she had Desperation support, but then we also got, like, Emblem Lynn recently, who also has Desperation support. So a lot of saves are just running Hardy Bearing, which really doesn't give the best matchup for Micaiah. Letting her have Desperation and hit, you know, multiple times with that effective damage would probably allow her to take out most saves. But if she can't do that, she's gonna need some kind of way to survive, which will either be like through a miracle effect, like let's say from like Ymir or like Maria or something like that. But if she can just like go in and hit a whole bunch of times, she could probably kill a lot of things just because she's doing so much true damage. And then she even gets to neutralize her own penalties to attack and rest, which is really good in the current meta because there's so many debuffs being thrown around. So being able to just remove that and allowing her to have those consistent stats is nice. I do wish it was speed as well because, like I was saying, she is deceptively fast. So being able to protect that speed stat would have been really, really nice. And then lastly, of course, damage reduction halving, which is just a key effect you need in this game. If you do not have damage reduction halving, you're in such a bad place in my opinion. And so her having that inner weapon is very important because you can't use resonance, right? Her preference B skill is taking up that B slot. So having an inner weapon is just really, really good. And so overall, I think this is a very solid refine. I think Legendary Micaiah is going to be able to slot into a lot of teams and work really well as a nuke support, which is just like all the other Micaiahs essentially. She's going to do a great job there. I think if you run into saves who don't have Hardy Bearing, you're going to do a great job at nuking supports. She could be very good with the Lin Ring for that role. It's just Hardy Bearing. That's the one thing that's going to hold her back, in my opinion, from letting her be like one of the top tier nukes. So we're going to have to do some testing with her to see her matchups into all the common saves right now. But I do have some like pretty good faith in her being able to perform, just because Micaiah has proven to perform countless times throughout the years. Okay, let's move on to the final refine and remix, and I saved the best for last. We have Legendary Faye with Dazzling Breath. So this grants attack plus 3. It's going to inflict attack, speed, defense, and resistance minus 5 on all foes within 3 rows and 3 columns. And it also neutralizes those foes' bonuses during combat. So this is very similar to Seteth, right? You're getting stats and you're getting a dull all effect. Now you're not getting the 7 flat DRs that it has, but that's still really, really good, especially on your Omni Tank or your frontliner, right? So very strong start already. And then if the foe initiates combat or if the foe's HP carry goes 75%, you get another round of -5 to all stats on the foe during combat. They cannot make a follow-up attack, which is pretty relevant nowadays, I would say. No follow-up has become less prominent, so being able to deny follow-ups is really good. And phase speed isn't bad, right? Phase speed is workable, which means that she could deny follow-ups from slower units. She's also going to get 20% true damage based off of resistance, not with AoEs. She'll inflict guard on the foe, and she gets dragon adaptive damage. We then get to the Astral Refine, and she gets Bulwark Obstruct. So this is essentially the effect you see in like the new Bulwark seals, where you can stop melee units running past you, or like even ranged units are running past you. And this is extremely relevant, extremely powerful in our current meta. It's one of the best effects you can have for like summoner duels, or even Aetherite's offense, just to stop units from getting past you. So this is insanely good to have, as it means that Faye has her B slot open to other skills. That could be something like Dragon skills that she comes with, but it could also be something like Lagoose Friend 4 as well. We also then have, if there's a unit within 3 spaces of an ally, she'll get another round of -5 all stats on the foe. She's going to get 20% flat damage reduction, but not with AoEs. And then also, if the foe's attack can trigger foe special, so they're using that offensive special, and she wins the resistance check, she'll inflict Scowl on the foe before their first attack. And before we talk about the whole thing, let's move over to her remix skill and talk about that. So we have Life Unending. This is a 5 cooldown special, and at start of turn 1, it's going to fully charge itself, so special cooldown count -5. When the special triggers for HP is greater than 1, she's going to get a miracle effect, and she's going to heal 99 HP. Now this is exactly the same as it was before, but the big thing is that she also nullifies deep wounds, meaning that you can't use something like Fatal Smoke to turn this off, which is just god tier good. That's so amazing already there. But she's also going to get 40% damage reduction, and it says Brave damage reduction in her special. Now what's so special about this is that it's non-pierceable because it's in the special. So that's already really, really, really good. And then on top of that, which is where things get absolutely nuts, is that she has damage reflection. And this is good damage reflection. This is from any source. So like all the damage reflection you have in your weapon, all the damage reduction you have in your B slot, any damage reduction you have from anywhere else is going to get added to this. And when you have Miracle, let's say you get knocked down to 1 HP, you can just throw all that damage back in the foe's face. So when we look at the overall case for Faye, I think her Refine and Remix are just really strong. Like, holy crap, they're really strong. You're getting almost every key effect you really want. You're getting a ton of different stats. You're getting Bulwark to shut down people trying to run past you. You have true damage on top of damage reflection, meaning that Faye can actually secure kills. She has damage reduction that's non-pierceable in her special. She has flat damage reduction in her weapon that stacks together. Really good there. She has Scowl to turn off pre-charged specials, which is also really nice. She even has Fall Denial, which isn't the greatest effect, but it's good. Like, it's decent, especially in today's current meta. It's pretty decent. And then she even offers some support she can take advantage of herself with an additional round of stats and dull bonuses, meaning that she doesn't need like a lull skill or like Endless Tempest or anything like that, right? She just has that built into her weapon, which is really, really good. The crazy thing too is that she just has Miracle, right? So you have a unit who can be a really strong Omni tank because she has that Miracle effect, meaning that if you somehow do get to the point where you kill her, she's going to heal up to full health and just throw all that damage back and kill you with it. She has ways to just stand in the front line and just take hits and then get back at you again. The one thing is she doesn't have like any type of AoE damage reduction. She does have pretty high visible defense and res, which will help. And the fact that if you don't get her down to 1 HP with that AoE, she's going to Miracle and throw all that damage back in your face. So it'll be very interesting to see the matchup against Sigurd, but I do think that she can do pretty well there. And if she can't for some reason, we can run like higher Dragon Wall even, which will give her AoE damage reduction as well as like anti-warping. So it's not like the worst option, but I think she doesn't need it. I think she could do it without even like high Dragon Wall. I think she could run probably a better B skill there. The one thing I will say she's missing is a guaranteed follow-up attack. Now obviously that is in her remix skill of Dragon Scales, but honestly I don't know if you really want to run Dragon Scales, so it's probably better B slots. So having that guaranteed follow-up attack there kind of sucks. I'd rather her have the guaranteed follow-up attack in her weapon and then have the guaranteed follow-up denial be in Dragon Scales. But obviously that's not how it's going to work. So overall, I think this is just a crazy good refine. I think we're going to see a lot of Fays acting as a frontline in SD. Maybe even some Fays showing up in Ether Raid's offense or defense as well. So I'm really interested to see how this unit shows up. I think she's just really, really strong now. Okay, let's move on to the final part of the video. Who won the refining war for January? In the top, I'm going to have Faye. I think Faye just got crazy refined like I was saying. I think she's going to be a premier frontline unit in a lot of different game modes. Even if she somehow can't secure kills, I think she'll just be really good there. And I honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if she can't secure kills because damage reflection is super broken right now. In second place, I'm going to have Legendary Micaiah. I think overall, Legendary Micaiah got a very solid refine. Gave her a lot of the key effects she wants, and I think she can perform pretty well. She's just going to need some way to get around those hardy bearing saves. In A tier, we're going to have Selena, Sonia, Ronan, and Xane. I think all these units got really solid refines that overall make them pretty good and usable. Even though it is a bit niche for their usage, I think they're overall really good, and if you are looking forward to using them with the proper investment, they'll be great. And then down in B tier, we're going to have Lex. Unfortunately, I think Lex just didn't get quite enough to really stand out in the meta or to like really have like a unique thing he's doing. The dual phase Brave is his big claim to fame, but I don't think that's enough when you're missing things like damage reduction halving. You don't really have a consistent way to get no quarter. I think there's just a lot of things that he's kind of missing to really be that top tier melee cav threat, right? And so I'm going to put him down in B tier. Definitely not a terrible refine, definitely usable, but you're going to need some heavy investment and a really good team built around him. Okay, with that said, that is going to be my refining video. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of these refines? Which of these units are you planning to build? How are you planning to build them? And what game modes are you going to be using them in? I'd love to hear about it. I'm personally really excited for Faye and Micaiah. I'm kind of sad I didn't pick up the Faye Forma because I think she is just going to be crazy good. As always, I'd like to thank all my members for their constant support. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch y'all later with more Fire Emblem Heroes.